I'm the most qualified candidate in this race, and I can tell you that I have the experience. I've been elected as the district attorney of Hinds County for 3 terms, and I have experienced just about everything that you can think of, and I know that I can move Mississippi forward. I've seen the insides and the outsides of this entire system, and we need to move ahead. We're not with other states that have moved ahead, and we have so much potential here because Mississippians are just great. Mississippians come from all over, they're all over the world, and they have contributed to music and literature and the legal system, you name it. Mississippi is a great place, but we have a lot of potential, but you have to have the right person in those positions to make that change for everybody, for all Americans and all Mississippians. There is no question that the prosecution by Hood and his associates are racially and politically motivated. This is the only case, my case, in the United States of America and in Mississippi where there is a blatant motive. And I've asked the Justice Department to investigate this. This is a blatant civil rights violation. I'm asking again that the Civil Rights Division at the U.S. Department of Justice investigate this case. We have text messages where they are discussing how to frame me, and I'm a sitting district attorney in Hinds County, African American who represents and loves everyone, and they have been doing this for about 8 years or more. And in retrospect, I think that they were intimidated and afraid that I might become a candidate for some office someday. It doesn't make any sense to try to frame someone, and then thank God we found the evidence. If there was a legitimate investigation, then he wouldn't even be in this race. And not just for civil rights violations. I believe that upon discovering a kickback scheme between Mr. Hood and a local attorney in Jackson, the New York Court of Appeals unsealed a file that they vehemently objected to, and the Court of Appeals opened that file anyway, and it was discovered that they were into a kickback scheme, a criminal kickback scheme, okay? And so with discovering that and discovering other misuse of public funds, you know, if that was Robert Shuler Smith in violation of any of those things, whether it was a civil rights violation, then I'd be wearing a 3-piece jumpsuit, an orange jumpsuit. Well, it certainly was a motivating factor because there is no way Mississippi can move forward with someone who has that kind of mentality, whoever that is. Anyone who has the mentality that they can take a person, black or white, in a jurisdiction and have a potentially racially biased jury, and the charges are politically motivated to begin with, that is absolutely, that's someone who is unethical and unqualified, and you can't trust someone who violates and participates in those kinds of activities. My platform is a new Mississippi and a Mississippi for all. And everyone who knows me personally knows that my door is always open, and I'm always trying to assist everyone from every background, and I have done that for many, many years, and we have moved forward, and that's what I want to see in Mississippi. Well, you know, of course, some expansion definitely seems attractive. But when I've studied the Affordable Health Care Act, there's one portion that I think if it's removed, it would be a little bit more attractive, and that's for people who opt out of this. If you opt out, then you're penalized. The United States Supreme Court, Chief Justice Roberts issued an opinion that if a person or a business is penalized, then it's considered to be a tax. That was a very controversial decision, and but yet that is the law. And so there are some things that we have to study, and I believe that I've formed several committees to try to form an opinion, an expert opinion on what would work best for Mississippians. In South Carolina, they removed their flag and there was no controversy whatsoever. In fact, they removed it on a number of reasons, whether it was moral reasons, whether it was economic. But hey, we have to move forward, and if we need a new flag, then that should represent all Mississippians. That doesn't mean that you can't fly your flag on your private property. Everyone has their right to privacy and their right to do exactly what they want to do and express themselves. But again, why wouldn't we want to remove it if that's an economic boost for all of us? And again, I'd say if there have been people in offices for decades, and there has been no effort to remove that flag if they say they're against it. So if they've been against the flag, they've had plenty of time to remove it and or keep it. And again, I think though that we can move forward as Mississippians, and again, I think everybody will be fine, and as long as we can allow people to express themselves personally and privately without offending anyone. And again, I wouldn't want to interfere with the rights of people, but of course, I think it would be best to take it down as a state. Well, I think that another vote would help to see where we are, but I think at this time, because we have exhausted a lot of remedies, it certainly should be an executive decision. People have to understand that people all over the United States and the world, when they see the flag, whether you agree with it or not, it reminds them of something that was covered during the month of February by a local newspaper. But what the local newspaper did not do was delve into who was behind these hoods. And I think that's important for the investigative reporter to investigate who was under these hoods, who was participating in this. We need to know who is sitting in these seats in our government, because it certainly affects some of the decisions that are made. Likewise, you wouldn't want someone from another radical group of an opposite race to not disclose their identity. And I think it's only fair. But I think this image, of course, is embarrassing to most people, most people. And I think that we should certainly keep that in mind when talking about the flag. Well, I think $15 an hour is maybe cost prohibitive. It may be possible to increase it some for hardworking people in Mississippi. But again, I think when we're talking about economics, there are so many ideas that we can implement in order to afford the number of things that we need. For example, we have just had criminal justice reform. We can save approximately $300 million and take those savings from the Department of Corrections and infuse that into programs such as rehabilitative programs, education. I know this is controversial, but I am for, I do support the legalization of marijuana for a number of reasons. It is the cash crop of the United States. I'm pretty sure farmers would not mind growing a plant that is already legal, and it will be legal all over the United States. Ole Miss has a research center, and it's funded by many millions of dollars, $50 and $60 million for research. It's used for medicinal purposes, and it should be used as an economic boost. Mississippi is an agricultural state, and just imagine the tax dollars that we could use from this plant that's already legal. Imagine the hundreds and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars that could be used to fund roads, that could be used to fund education, that could be used to fund just about everything we complain about. It's already here. We're behind because other states have recognized that this is a cash crop, just like cotton, just like corn, just like any other crop. It's a cash crop. And we've got a lot of land here, a lot of good fertile soil where it can be grown. And instead of allowing this to control, in terms of arresting people, we can save a lot of money by legalizing this and making this taxable. And again, the criminal justice reform, I believe, requires that we look at some of these options because, again, we're losing so much money incarcerating people on marijuana charges. Well, I will say this. I'm really disturbed about the laws in Virginia and New York. I will say that. But in Mississippi, I have to applaud the legislature for at least coming up with a bipartisan agreement on this issue. So again, subject to constitutional challenge, we'll have to see where that goes. Most likely, I would vote yes. Well, let me put it this way. The majority of Americans have said very clearly that a woman has a right to an abortion. That's the law. We can't change that. The laws that are passed have to be constitutional, and they have to meet the Constitution. So, again, subject to the constitutional aspects of this, I would sign some portions restricting it. But I would applaud the First Step styled legislation that the legislature has done in a bipartisan way. I think people are ready for a change. I think when people examine and study and see who the candidates are and their records, what they do and what they have done with our tax dollars in the past, that is something that matters. That's why we can't afford a lot of things, because some people in office are taking our tax dollars and using it for their personal gain. That is absolutely absurd. Imagine if I used taxpayer-funded dollars to support this building where my family is and myself. There again, I wouldn't be here, I don't think. I know I wouldn't. So again, check the record. Understand who you're voting for. Understand what they have stood for, and understand that I am the only one who is going to move this state forward. Well, I would hope that they would vote for me based on my platform. I hope that they would vote for me based on what I can do for Mississippi. It certainly would change the image of Mississippi. It would do a lot of great things. I think a lot of things would come here if we had a change in our perception, in our image. But again, on the issues, I know that I can represent every Mississippian, and I won't disappoint them at all. They will be very surprised at what I can do for everyone.